Hello and welcome back to my channel, Bookish Lady Night, as we get a look behind the book. Today I am joined by the lovely St. Fernandez. She is the author of The Veiled Heir and one of my favorite reads. If you haven't read it, definitely do it. It's The Legend of Gasparilla. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course, so much fun.
Yes, I really appreciate you being willing to come on the show. And like I said, I haven't read The Veiled Heir yet. I missed the ARC sign up for that one, but it is on my TBR to read because I loved your first book that I read by you, and I was like, I have to read them all. So it is on my TBR. Yes. So we actually have a little bit of a special announcement that is going to be on this episode. She has graciously agreed to give away an ebook of The Veiled Heir along with the swag from the book. And so you'll definitely want to go and follow me and her on Instagram, and it'll give all the directions for entering to win that ebook and swag. So definitely check that out. It'll be in the details below and then also on Instagram. So thank you. All right. So today I just wanted to ask you a few questions, get to know you a little bit better so that readers kind of get a look behind the book and get to know you better. So my first question is, what would be your writing kryptonite?
Writing kryptonite. Gosh, that's coming in hard with the questions. Okay. My writing kryptonite, pantsing. I have to have everything planned. I have to have all the sequences mapped out for each book. I need to know what my characters' quirks are. I want to know what is their misbelief about themselves, how they plan to overcome that misbelief. I have to know I just have to have like just the structure in place, or else I cannot write. Like it's just not going to happen. Like I love to have everything planned out. And it would make me nervous not it would make me so nervous to go into a book and not have it planned out. Like I would like literally sweat bullets. It would be bad.
Yeah. Do you ever are you start writing and then something pops in your head and you're like, oh, I want to change stuff, but then you're like, no, I can't. Do you have that kind of moment, or does it everything kind of stay?
So it does happen. And it's funny you mention that because I typically keep up like a little Google Doc. And if something pops in during the creative process where I'm like, ooh, I typically jot that down. And sometimes it happens that it is something that will be very significant in a book down the line in the series. And so I keep each one of my documents up for like plugging in different scene ideas. Sometimes it just comes to me like in the middle of my day. And I'm like, I have to go in and jot down the scene. I'm like, ooh, that's good. And I just jot it down and. But yeah, that happens pretty often.
That's awesome. So when you write, let's say you're writing a cliffhanger or you're writing a plot twist, do you usually go in knowing that, or is that something that would reveal itself as your writing process keeps going?
It's an interesting question. Honest to God, I think the cliffhanger gods speak to me because they just give me these brilliant ideas. And maybe it's just because I have read so many cliffhangers and have wanted to throw my Kindle across the room that I know what it takes to create something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I think Zodiac Academy has scarred me for life. And
Yes.
I honestly, I'm like those sisters, pain train sisters. That's what I like to call them. But they are inspiration for some good cliffhangers because they know how to do it. So I would definitely say I don't know. Somehow it just pops in. I'm like, ooh, how did that get there? And then I, again, jot it down, put it away, But
yes.
Yeah, that's typically how it happens.
Yeah. So there's some of the people that you get inspired by?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I love them. Their humor, the way that they weave humor into very dark themes is so cool. I do love their writing. Seriously, it's so good. I mean, Dark Fae, the Dark Fae series, or the oh God, I forgot the exact title of it, but because it's, of course, it never comes to me when you need it, right?
Yes. No, I know which one you're talking about.
Ruthless Boys of Zodiac. Yeah, that
yes.
is quite possibly one of my favorite verse harem books, or why choose romances. I just love that series. So good. So good.
Yes. I'm on the last book of the Zodiac Academy. Like, I just am finishing the last book right now.
May the force be with you. Oh my Lord.
But I have a love-hate relationship with authors with the cliffhangers. I love them because it makes me like, oh, what's going to happen? But at the other time, I'm like melting on the floor, sobbing because I'm like, I have to wait until the next book.
Okay.
So
You'll get over it. I'm so
yeah.
sorry.
Yes, it's hard though. It's hard because then you're like, when does it come out? And you're like Google searching to see when the next book's released. And sometimes you guys don't let us know. It's like a year away or like really far down the road, and you're like hanging off the cliff, just waiting here, like waiting for it to happen. So
No,
yes,
I know. A lot of my readers for the Veiled Heir have voiced and expressed their impatience for the next book to come out, and I'm happy to say at least it's going to come at the beginning of 2024. So like,
well, that's good.
yes, and I'm carefully plugging away, as I get ready for the release of the novella that's coming out. So that's kind of like the next thing. Even though like everyone's like, I'm like, promise there's a point. So
Yeah, well, that gives us a little taste until the next one,
yeah,
and it gives us a little bit, just sip of water while we're dangling until the next one comes along. So that's
exactly.
good. I like that. That keeps the process going.
Yeah.
So have you ever had writer's block?
No.
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 That's good.
Yeah, and that's part of that's part of the pantsing versus plotting. Like that's why I plot everything out. Because if you don't have a direction, how the hell are you going to know where you're going to go? And that's just kind of, you have to have the like certain things there in order to hook the reader and keep them motivated to keep on reading. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you would probably go through a lot of when you're plotting out, that's a long process, right? That takes a lot longer than necessarily writing the book because you have to be so detailed.
yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, like this second book that I'm writing, in the Veiled Heir series or the Heir of Atlantis series, I have probably been soft plotting it since the Veiled Heir. And so it's like it takes a lot because you have to make sure you're getting the plot from book one to weave it into book two and make sure that those details are there. I'm like kind of a little bit nervous. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, you know, but
Yeah.
hopefully it'll all work out. Always does. So
Yes, and always just trust the process. It'll work. It'll work. So does writing energize you or does it make you kind of tired or does it kind of vary on the day?
I typically like to write in the mornings because that's when I have the most energy. So I get the writing out of the way, because it does after a while. Like once I get everything done on paper, then I'm like creatively drained. I'm like, okay, I got that scene down. And I love just getting it down and then like going back and adding my little tidbits to it, making sure that it has all my fancy embellishments, grammatical embellishments and everything. So yeah, it's a process, but I do feel like it does drain me like after I get the scene down. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can. Sometimes I push through though.
Yeah. Yeah. You give yourself a little push and then you do a reward of something fun and after you finished it.
Not really. No, it just works.
No? Yeah, just go back to your own work. Yeah. So if you could go back in time, get in a time travel machine and go back in time and see your younger self, what would you tell your younger writing self?
Do it. Just do it. Start now. Just go start. Don't procrastinate. Like I think I tried, write the perfect book or to just get the perfect theme, and I didn't get myself out there quick enough, like not necessarily quick enough, but just not I feel like I could have gotten a lot more under my belt if I had just started the process sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not going to complain because we're here, and I'm rocking and rolling, and it's so exciting. So coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? But
Yeah.
I probably would have told my younger self like, shut up and do it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's good. That's good advice. So, on the flip side, would there be any other things you would tell like a new writer coming into this field, like something that you would say, hey, try this or do this? Is there anything like that you have like advice for?
Be kind. Do not crap on other authors. Do not crap on reviewers. They have their space. Please respect it. If you could tell, I have my things that really set me off. You are a published author, whether you are self-published, whether you are independently published, or whether you are traditionally published. So whichever you feel is best for you at this point in time, that whatever path you feel you're called to, do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no right or wrong way. It's just a matter of where you're at, what your circumstances are. Have some humility for other people and their choices, and don't try to shame them. Okay, so that's the social structure of it, right?
Yeah.
And then I would say, like, YouTube is such a wonderful resource for finding the most incredible people who teach you about craft, about writing craft. Abby Emmons is one of them, and I love her, and she is so brilliant. There's another one that I'm forgetting that's really great on the TradPub side, kind of developing queries and querying traditional author or traditional agents for traditional publishing, rather. And so, like, it's a plethora. It's a great resource, and I always recommend, like, kind of like how to develop characters. Go on there, see if somebody gives you some advice that maybe gets you out of your funk or wants to get you motivated to write. There's so much good stuff on there. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Those are great recommendations. So what is the most difficult thing for you about writing, like in your process? Like what like is the most difficult aspect of it?
Trying to concentrate on the writing process itself and not all the outside noise, not the engaging on social media, not the marketing part of it, like having to like block out everything. And then of course, as most independent authors, we also have side jobs. So we have to like do the side job thing. And so, so it's trying to find that healthy balance and staying really meticulous to your schedule so that you can be successful. But carving out that time, the writing time, is the most challenging, and it has to be in the schedule somewhere, because if not, you will slip. And so that's like the thing that for me like is like so crucial.
So when you do your day, do you get up because you work? Do you get up like really early before that so that gives you that space?
I do. So I actually work from home. I have my own virtual assistant business for small businesses. So like I help with all kinds of different things like marketing and organization and LinkedIn's outreach and all kinds of fun stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the benefit of my business, is that I can modify it, right, so that it meets my needs. And I'm grateful that I'm in the position at this point in my life to do that, right? So I do wake up and I manage my day, because I need coffee to function. So while I'm having my coffee, like I'm on social media, kind of doing my engagement and all the other fun things and talking to readers, which I love to do. So I give myself that time to let the coffee kick in, and then I get into writing mode, and then I start writing, right? And then I work a little bit, and then I come back to it, right? And start doing all of that, and then go back to work, and then back to marketing. And that's pretty much my day, like as far as like it goes. Like it's a lot. But
it's a good balance because you get a break. Like you give yourself a break of either one or the other, so your mind can like clear a little bit, right?
That's exactly the point. Yeah. That's how how I function. Like I like need breaks. I like need things to like, be broken up, as it were, so yeah, it works really great for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really great. So let's see, what is the most like enjoyable or favorite part about writing? Go the flip side.
Oh God, the reader experience. I think the thing for me that is so touching, and I mean this every time I say it, I'm sure my readers are like, oh, she says that to everyone. I say it to everyone because like I really do, it touches my heart. Like every time somebody says like, I loved The Legend of Gasparilla and it really meant a lot to me to read this. I just loved it. Or like they fell in love with a particular character, like Draven, like you're gonna fall in love with Drake, and I promise you. I know it's not Jose Gaspar, but I promise you, you're gonna love him. I promise. He's chef's kiss. Anytime that they fall in love with characters or they just genuinely love the story, it moves my heart to no end. And I think that is like, honestly, like, even if it's just one or two people that I ever wrote for in my whole entire career, it would mean the world to me. Like, their reaction is everything, and it means so much to me. So I love my readers. They're so cool.
That's great. So I loved. I think I showed you. I sent you the reel. So I made a reel based on the aesthetic of that book because, like, I started reading it and I was like, whoa, this is like a movie playing in my head. Like I like it literally. Like I could see the characters, I could see the dancing, I could see like everything that was happening, and then all the little twists and turns they took, and I was just like gripping the edge of the seat, like, oh boy. And it literally was playing like a movie, and I still to this day, like I read, like that book came out. When did that book come out? It's been a while, right?
Last year it came out. Yeah.
Last year. I still think of it. Like it still pops up in my head. And it's still like I can see the scenes like little bits of movie. Like it was just so like dynamic and thrilling and enthralling, like all of it. Like it just was, it so captured the imagination like so well.
Oh,
So I'm excited to read the new one.
I did. Oh my God, that means so much. See, like I'm
Yeah.
like that just means so much to me because that book had been in the works since college. Like I had like seriously like I'm dating myself
Yeah.
now. I had written down notes and like kept them in a file and brought it wherever myself moved,
Yeah.
I always had it with me, and it was always my dream to bring my version of that story to life. So
Well, you can tell. Like you can tell with it's so rich with like the descriptions and like the emotions of the character. They're like on a whole other level. Like you can tell. Like you put a lot of thought and a lot of work into it because it's so fleshed out on the page. Like it was really good. It was really good. Like I recommend. It's like one of my top. Like I recommend it to people all the time. I'm like, this is a great book. You need to read it. Like people that are like just starting out with fantasy. Like I have a couple friends that are like, never. I'm not reading any. Not. I'm not. It's all like autobiographies and stuff like that. I'm like,
yeah.
Come on, just try something.
Yeah.
So it's a really good book to like grasp readers to start the journey to like have them fall in love with that area and that type of storyline and plot and all of that.
Yeah, it's tough getting people to come to our side that are a typical I mean, and then another thing though, I always say I never push people there because they may not like it. I had a friend of mine that I said, please go read A Court of Thorns and Roses. You'll thank me later. And she comes back and she's like, it's just that so over dramatic. I don't know. And the way that and I just something about it. I was like, do not read my book then. Don't read my book. I'm like, just don't read my book. Cause like I like that would break me. So don't read it. I'm like,
yeah.
If you're not really a fantasy lover and a fantasy reader, which I don't understand because like, oh man, fantasy is like, yes, like give me all the fantasy.
Exactly. I'm in the process. If you go on my channel, I'm in the process of doing like a fantasy sleeve, and it encompasses like fairies and morally gray men. It like has all the different elements of fantasy, so it can like represent all of my favorites.
I love it.
And I'm addicted. I mean, I love all types of books, but I live in a fantasy. Like if I could just escape my mind, I go to a fantasy realm and live out there for a while.
I mean, hopefully they don't want to murder humans, but whatever.
Yeah. So what is the most difficult part of writing the opposite sex for you?
God, that's such a great question, especially when there's an attack on childless cat ladies. Okay, so girl, don't get me started. Okay. Honestly, it's not that hard because I envision what the not the perfect male, because every person is imperfect, right? Every male, female is always going to have imperfections. But like, like I think we know what we would prefer to hear and not like, I don't know, like the solidarity. Well, like I think like the male species, like, and in readers' minds, especially in romance readers' minds. Okay, let's go romance because that's what we're really talking about here. In romance readers' minds, right? It's just so refreshing to have the male entity be on the side of women.
Mhm.
And it's sad that, like, in this day and age, the only place that we can find that, like, throughout, like, I don't know, throughout, I think them, hold on, let me not stick my foot in my mouth. It's, I'm trying to find the most gentle way to say this because I don't want this to be a bash on all males because obviously I'm married to a really awesome male. So, duh, right? But,
Like
like,
the trend sometimes leans towards it, maybe.
yeah, like, just like, guys in this day and age can be dicks, you know? So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
women don't want to have that in their literature unless it's like in that like really like mafia romance, like dark male, like morally gray characters. Like we're all here for it. But
Yes.
I know, oxymoron, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're just at the
Yeah.
end of the book, they're typically in solidarity and pro women. And I think that that is kind of like what I take pleasure in writing about, like the men in my book, that it doesn't feel like it's male versus female, right?
Yeah.
It's often like, I don't give a fuck what your gender is, part of my French. I hope I can curse. I don't give a crap what your gender is, that we all have a common goal and we're moving towards that common goal, regardless of gender. Does it make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Exactly. Yes, I totally get it. Yeah.
Okay. Hope I
That's
answered your
awesome.
question.
Yes, you did. So what is your favorite kind of scene to write?
Favorite kind of scene, damn, that's a good question. Tell you what I don't like. No, let me not tell you that. Because then, no, I'm not gonna tell you that. Because hopefully I'll get better at that part. I like the steamy scenes. I like those, especially because the Veiled Air is a lot steamier. It's spicy. It's way more spicy than The Legend of Gasparilla. Like, you know,
Yeah.
our boy Gaspar had some nice etiquette and manners, especially for a male of the time. Draven just doesn't care. And so,
Okay. I'm excited to read this one. I'm excited.
yeah, and yeah, I'm excited for you to read it too. And like I pushed myself on those spicy scenes, so I really did enjoy like coming out of my own shell and
Mm-hmm.
pushing myself in those boundaries because I love so many romance authors, especially on the erotica side, that just go for it. I'm like, hell freaking yes. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. And so I did, and I warned my family not to read my book.
It was probably very empowering.
It is very empowering, and I do love that. Like I love those scenes because but I'll tell you, like that was one of my, those are some of my favorite things, but also the parts that really grip you. I want to grip the reader, and one of the themes in The Veiled Air is grief, and I
Mm-hmm.
actually wrote this. I lost my dog like in May of 2023. It's like, yeah, yes, I think. Anyway, so May of 2023 I lost my dog, and that was like my jam and jelly. Like he was always in my life, right? And then I lost my dad in the same, and it was just like, like you kind of go through that moment where, well, I was just feeling my feelings, and my dog, and his bed is right here. The new dogs have now taken it. But his bed is right here, and he would be here as I'm writing, as I'm working. He would be my ride or die. He would just sit here and sleep, and just be there as a constant companion. And to not have that, I mean, that first day that it didn't happen there, I just wrote just this, all my feelings about what it was I was feeling internally. And that is like the maybe fifth or sixth chapter or something like that in the book, maybe seventh.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would have to look. But Ashera, who's the female main character, goes and talks about like what she's feeling in that grief, and it grips you. It really does. I'm gonna start like tearing up now because I'm thinking of my dad, especially because today's the 1 year anniversary of his passing, and it's like, like it, you feel okay sometimes, right? And
Yeah.
I think that was kind of, I wove my own emotions into Ashera's life. And as she, loses her mother, that's not a spoiler. It's actually in the blurb. So just,
Yeah.
like
But it's probably cathartic in a way, right?
uh,
Like
it is.
putting that out.
It is. I got it out and I was just like, because I didn't want to forget how it felt.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, a lot of readers conveyed to me that they felt that too. And I was like, okay, I'm not alone. And I didn't feel alone in that moment. And I thought that like, like it was good to kind of put that out there. Because I know there's so many people who lose, you know, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, boyfriends, girlfriends, partners, like, and they happens all the time. And I think that sometimes if you read what grief is, you know better how to approach people and just say, I'm here for you, I'm there for you. And that's kind of like what I wanted to just get my thoughts down on it. So those moments and on page that reflect the human experience and reflect like just how we're feeling, whether we're being bullied, because that also happens,
Yeah.
whether we're training, like when you think about like you get in a good workout session or your
Yeah.
workout routine and how you're training and using your body to like train and you're feeling invigorated by that. Like, I wanted to use that experience too, but really bringing the human experience to the reader, I think is part of the pleasures of the writing process. So
That's awesome. I'm really excited to read that book because of that. So I just read another book by another author, and there was a bullying aspect to it, like flashbacks of childhood. And it hit me so strongly because I was bullied to the point where like people were cutting my hair in class and like throwing rocks at me, like legitimately throwing. Like my mom had to pull me out of school and take me to another school because the school wasn't doing anything about it.
terrible.
And I read that book, and I literally like I love books when like your book, like I'm excited to read it because I love books that I feel seen in. Like that connection with the character, that it almost like validates me and I feel seen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I like I hate being in social settings. Now, like used to be really good in college, and now I'm just kind of like people. So and I get scared, especially, oh my goodness, if it's like a bookish author event. I like if there's other authors here, I get really, really nervous and like I don't know, I slink towards the back. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I just find it so intimidating.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm like the wallflower. Well, Ashera is a wallflower. Like she's a self-proclaimed wallflower, and you see her kind of like not necessarily come out of her shell, but just like kind of, yeah, but I guess, yeah, she does have a little bit of a coming out of the shell moment, because imagine you're a wallflower and then now you're expected to be the queen of Atlantis, like it's
Yeah.
like, so yeah.
It's a big shift.
It's a
There's
big,
a lot of emotions from that because you go from being like in the background to being like front and center
mm-hmm.
and having to probably act a certain way to fulfill what duties you have, and trying to like be okay with that, not lose yourself, but also like live up to that like persona. That's a lot
It
on
is.
someone.
It is. Yeah. And you feel that in this book.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Oh, I
cool.
love the books that make you feel. I love those books. Ooh, maybe I'll read this book and I'll use it. I do a meltdown Monday. Every Monday I do like a book that like made me cry or like made me like have like that moment of like emotions. Like that might this I'm gonna read this okay, I know what I'm gonna do for my next meltdown Monday. Because I think that would be great. That would be great. So awesome. So what is your inspiration usually when you're writing? Is it like something in your own life, or is it like an interaction you have with someone else or someone else? Like where do you get your inspiration from?
Reading. I am an avid reader. I read, 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 read. I like love, and sometimes I just like I get inspired by other authors because like I mean I love the fantasy genre. I love, the romance, and I support all romance authors. And so I do a lot of reading, and then something clicks as it's going. Like I'm like I would probably do something this way. And
Uh-huh.
then all of a sudden I just go off on a tangent. Like I've got this series mapped out. The next one is a vampire series. That one is like currently in the works, but semi mapped out. It's just like that thing. Remember, I told you kind of have ideas and you kind of jot it along.
Yeah.
And then I have another Fae series that's coming out after the vampire series. So like I've got like a few like things down the road. And I have another historical romance, but I'm gonna tread lightly on that one because I was really like I was like, oh, historical romance is really difficult to write because you've got to get the details right. Historical
Mhm.
romance writers have expectations and you have to meet them, and I respect that. So yeah, but it's good. It's really freaking cool. So my inspiration generally when I'm writing, like I don't know, the way that I find it is like, and I don't know how this happened because people would be like, oh, she's got an obsession with Florida. Well, I was born and raised there, but like, like the first one was just it happened to be about the legend that inspired the Gasparilla Parade in Tampa,
Yeah,
which I'm excited because I'm signing at Flirty in Tampa next weekend. Such a
that's so cool.
yeah, Flirty in Tampa. So like if anybody's in the Tampa area, tickets are still on sale. They're really, really economical, $30 to get in. So and it's just come hang out with me. I am gonna have parade beads. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Okay.
That's
So
awesome. If only I was in Florida. I'm on
I
the other side
know.
of the world.
Well, the good news is that I'm going to be at Love and Devotion in Burbank in 2025. So that one is June 2025. It's a 2-day con, and I'm going to be signing at that one too. So,
Ooh, I need to look that one up.
yes, you do. So that one is much closer to where you're at. So, hop, skip, and a jump. Um, but yeah, what was I saying? I know I was saying something. Oh,
So you're going. You
okay.
have a lot of your content comes from Florida.
Well, I was inspired.
Like,
It's like kind of
yeah,
like the Atlantis legend or the mythical Atlantis. Is something if you grew up in the Caribbean or in the Caribbean area, including Florida, is like, well, no. And so
yeah,
like you do get fascinated by it. Um, because, Floridians are like water people by nature. Like we love the beach. We love like give me flip-flops and shorts and tanks all the time. Like that's just, like that's our jam and jelly. Uh,
yeah.
but I love the historical aspect of that and like, Atlantis. So that fascinated me. And then, underwater world. And then the next one, I mean, vampires. Who doesn't love vampires?
Love 'em.
I just like, I love vampires. So that one's going to be, and that one's going to push some limits. That's going to be a very sensual, unexpected vampire romance, I feel. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I can't wait.
I feel like that's well, at least for me, that was my first like obsession with fantasy, with vampires. I think like well, when I was a little kid, it was probably like fairies, but like as I got to be like preteen and teens, it like morphed into vampires and like anything with vampires, I was there for. So
Yes,
yes, I'm
yes.
excited to read that.
I know, me too. It's gonna be, I just started writing for the anthology for Villains and Vixens, and I'm almost done with it. I'm almost done with it. If everything else would stop getting in the way, and it's like vampires, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. I love this. This is so fun. Like, it's cool. I'm like, yeah.
That's great. So you do have a lot of future plans coming up. So we'll have a lot coming out from you and to look forward to over the next couple of years. That's exciting.
Yes,
It's very
absolutely.
exciting.
Can't stop.
Let's see here. Who inspired your writing journey, or did you always want to be a writer? Like, where did that start for you?
Really young. I remember like me and a friend of mine started writing a book and I was 9 years old. And I remember like, it was just about like it was the most random thing ever. Like there was a big pile of dirt in her neighborhood and we were writing about like people in the back living in the forest and just wild imaginations. And we were writing in, little box computers and a keypad, like it was just, I've always had that itch to write. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I just, like I said, going back to the, what would you tell your younger self? Well, just go do it, I had graduated from St. Louis University with a degree in English Lit, and it just kind of, it was just hanging there for a while, like, what do
Mm-hmm.
you do with it? I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you can't really do anything. Well, unless you want to, write or, go in the literary field, like, so, um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm sorry. I think I answered your question, did I?
No, you totally. No, it's perfect. I like to hear like the thought process because it gives people a little bit of a look in there a
Yeah.
little further. So, um, who would you say is your favorite book boyfriend then?
Oh, child.
It
I
could be
mean,
anybody. It doesn't have to somebody you write or somebody else. Like who would be?
Reason. I mean, how do you not? Hello. I mean, he's just, oh man, I reread A Court of Mist and Fury like shamelessly every year. And no
Right
team
there
note,
with you.
like I'm just like this man is perfection. And there, who's becoming quickly my other obsession right now? Kingfisher from Quicksilver. I don't know if you've read Quicksilver yet.
I just got the book at the bookstore. I'm going to be reading it.
So we're doing a buddy read right now, and I'm like, dear Lord. Um, he's a little bit more on the toxic side than Reeson, but I like Reese is the jam, obviously.
Mhm.
There was another one, obviously, but if he's not coming to mind, then obviously he's not that great. But yeah.
I'm right there with you. I have two special needs kids and I homeschool them. So I've been in a bubble for a really long time. And over this past like couple months, there's been a lot of ACOTAR balls that have been advertised. And I kind of went like a little obsessive, but I bought tickets to 3 of them. So there's one in November and then one in January and one in July. And they're all ACOTAR themed. So I'm like so excited
Oh, you'll
to
have
go there.
so many
So
characters.
I was more of like a Nicholas Sparks reader for the longest time. And I read like Twilight and all those back in the day, Harry Potter, all those. So I've always liked fantasy. But then I went through this big, like, I don't have time to read because of my kids, right? And so, side note about me, I have an Etsy business and I make 3D box cards based on books. I work with several authors that I've created cards based on their books. One of which is Sarah J. Maas. I made an ACOTAR card. And I had been contacted by this girl. She says, my best friend loves this book. Could you make a card? I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, I'm the type of person that I want to make it authentic and I want to make it like if a fan saw it, it would do it justice. Yeah. So I was like, I have to read this book. So I started reading it. And then like within the month, I had like all of them read and I just went down this rabbit hole and I met all this great community of book Instagrammers and book talk. And that's when my page actually started. It was catapulted by that series. And I just went down this rabbit hole and I get to meet all these wonderful authors and wonderful books. And it just has been like such a great journey. So that's totally my jam.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. I like thou shalt not say anything bad about ACOTAR or else I will slice you. Like that's
Yeah.
Like that's just that's my feelings on the matter.
Exactly. I'm right there with you. I'm like, I always love the emotions. Like all those books have emotions, and that's what I look for. That's what I crave as a reader. So that's what I love about your book that I read was because there was such deep emotions. And there was all the like there was everything. It was like a perfect blend of everything, but there was such deep emotions and you could feel what they were feeling. And that's when I pick out a book, I want to feel things. I don't want it to just be fluff. Yeah. So I really enjoy that. So that
means so much. And I really honestly like I can't wait for you to read The Veiled Heir because
I know I'm excited. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it. I've caught up on my arcs and I have like a little bit of time for like mood reading now. So I'm gonna so
love it.
Let me scroll down here to my questions. About how long does it take for you to finish a book once you have, your plot, your planning, and then going through it?
Ooh. 3 months, typically 3 months. It just depends on if I can buckle down really hard and like, focus and get it done. Sometimes I'm like, all right, I'm going to get it done in 2, let's say.
Yeah.
But life has a way of intervening and, making sure that just throw you off your marker. So yeah, I do try to, my goal is always God bless every author who gets like 5 books out like in a year. I applaud you. I do not know how you do it. You are so special and you need a cape. I don't have a cape. And so like I am lucky if I'm going to get like 2 to 3 out a year. That's my goals, 2 to 3 a year.
I think that's phenomenal. I'm over here. I'm like, I don't even know how to get like I wouldn't even know how to do 1 book in a year. I would be like so stressed out. So that's amazing. You need a cape. Like that's incredible to get 3 out in a year.
Cape. Yeah, I'll take the cape. I'm like it's yeah, I just am very particular with my details, and I love to have the details there, and I don't want to put something out there that's going to disappoint people. And so like,
Yeah.
even though I know ultimately it will, because you can't please everyone. I'm not a taco, so like, that's my motto, and I stick to that.
I'm gonna share this. I got this over the weekend, and I was like, "Yep, that's my new motto.
Yes.
That is what I'm gonna say to myself.
Yeah,
You can't please people."
it's true though, and I am totally respect that people will have their opinions, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. So, follow up question on that. So, do you read reviews or do you just?
Oh, no. Okay, so here's the thing. People, okay, if I try not to go on to Goodreads. My PA will go on to Goodreads. So I actually did not do that for The Legend of Gasparilla. And like, it is so disheartening sometimes to read some of the stuff. That I switched it over to my PA, and I'm like, you need to handle all of this because I can't see it, because it really fucks, pardon my French, but it fucks with your creative process. And like I said, completely respect your opinion. That does not mean I have to see it. And so I always live by the rule, please do not tag me in a review that's 4-star, that's less than 4 stars. Like, so 3 stars or less. Like that's just, it's not right. Don't do that to any author. That's just not cool.
Yeah. My thing, so like for me, me as a reader, because I'm an ARC reader, that's how I discovered you. Yeah. I really don't ever write a bad review, and I don't, because it just might not have been my cup of tea, but it could be totally someone else's cup of tea. So I don't want to dissuade them from reading something. And I think there's only maybe 2 books, and it was just because it was so graphic that I couldn't read it. And that was because it was triggering to me, but I still didn't leave a review. I just didn't say anything negative about the book because someone else might have loved it. Like, it just wasn't for me. So I never understand that when people are like railing the author or the book, and I'm just like, just move along. Like, why would you put that out in the world? Like,
I mean, like I said, I respect people's, even if they have a negative reaction to it, or they have a negative comment about it, like, again, I respect that. That if you want to be there, I think it's a little much to be like insulting the author.
Yeah.
Like, talk about the story, like, because there's a human being behind the pages.
Yeah.
And so, like, keep it cool. I don't know. Like, I don't think that's too much to ask, but, most bookstagrammers are pretty decent with that. And no, I don't, like, again, that's why so many bookstagrammers are very adamant that, keep reader spaces, because they want to be able to express themselves, and they should. So no, I don't. I like only the ones that I get tagged in, and then I feature them. Like, I love to feature and elevate readers and bookstagrammers, and all the things. Like, I try to be supportive of everyone in the community, both authors and readers. So like, yeah, like, like, I don't typically go on to Goodreads, although, like, sometimes it's good to know what it is exactly, and this is a learning point. So what I did is I had my PA scan the negative reviews, and I said, is there anything that is significant that they keep pointing out that maybe I need to alter direction with my writing? And most of the time they just they didn't mention it, or it wasn't something that was super relevant, or wasn't widely felt by the readers. You know what I'm saying? It was just maybe debate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't personally, but I do have her go in and see if there's anything I can learn, because I don't think an author, if you're going to survive in this game, you better be able to take constructive criticism and improve, because you don't know everything. And, readers have a really blessed knack for naming if something is off. Most of them can pick up on it and name it. And so that's a learning moment. And what can you do to learn from that book, and what can you do to improve it? So,
yeah. So this is kind of a little bit of a different question, because you're into the fantasy realm. I can't ask every author this question, because some of them are contemporary romance. But if you could be a magical creature, which one would you be and why?
Oh, let's go dragons. I think dragons are so
Dragons?
badass. Like, let's just go. Let's just do, let's go dragons. Let's go fire up the world. You know, like something fire.
Yes. Yes. That is great. I love it. I would totally be, I'm Team Dragon. Like, I love that. That's totally great. So, when you're doing your books for the covers, do you enjoy doing that process, or does that kind of stress you out, or is it something that you're fun with?
I don't do my own covers.
Well, like designing, like telling them, like, hey, I want this, I want that. Like, does that stress you, or is it kind of like,
No, because I have kind of an idea in my head what I would like. So, with the exception of the upcoming novella, for instance, right? Each book is going to go and explore a different realm. So those books are going to be reflective of that realm, but have the same aesthetic in terms of like the look. Hard to explain, but
yeah,
um,
I get it.
yeah. So I'm like really excited about that. But I love the creative process of it because like I did the formatting for this one by myself. And I was really pleased with the way that it turned out.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of learning curves, lots of formatting learning curves. I was like, oh my God. And it still wasn't perfect when the ARC readers got it. And I still had to make some more formatting like adjustments. So again, lots of learning curves. But
Yeah.
that's okay. We all live and learn and give myself grace to fall down and get myself back up. But yeah, the Legend of Gasparilla, it was like fate. It was fate because I saw that on Etsy and it was a pre-made cover. And I was,
Mm-hmm.
that is my cover. It is perfect and I love it and I need it. And I ended up getting it. And at the time, I was like, I'm just going to put this over here because I don't know if I'm going to go trad pub or if I'm going to go indie. And I did try to
Yeah.
go traditional with it. It did not work out, obviously. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to indie this one and start living my life, which is what I ultimately did. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is the part where I say I should have just started sooner because I just
Yes.
started sooner. But yeah, so I just fell in love with that cover. I mean, seriously, it's so cool. It's got the
It's
little, you know,
yes.
it is, right?
Yes. It gives the vibes of the book. It definitely is like the first taste of like your mind rolling as you
Yeah,
start reading it.
yeah. I agree. It was
Yeah.
perfect.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, what do you feel as a reader and an author and, living this world, what do you feel it makes a great story? Like the key components that you would have to make that you would think would make a great story?
Characters like like it's well developed characters, right? If I miss the mark on some of them, my alpha readers let me know. They would let me know. And you have to go back and you have to really analyze and all the things, right? World
Mm-hmm.
building, take the reader into the world and keep them,
Mm-hmm.
what's
Yeah.
happening. Write your chapter with purpose is kind of my thing. So I feel like your chapters have to have purpose, and if they don't have a purpose, make it purposeful. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
That's yeah.
So, what is something like on your most surprising to you on this journey that you've had since you began that you've learned?
Indie authors grind. I mean, indie authors grind. And I thought I had an idea of just how much indie authors grind. I had no idea. And, like I knew I was going to have to make investments in marketing. I knew I was going to have to do all the things, right?
Yeah.
Which was fine. But like, it's it's not easy. It's not easy. And I think people I don't understand like every single art, whether physical or ebook, is not like it pops up from some publisher to distribute to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That comes from the author's pocket. And I feel like, people may or may not understand the process about the differences there. So you have to be very gracious and patient to explain the differences,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not their fault. They just don't know that,
Yeah.
is so you have to have some grace. You also have to watch your mouth. You have to watch your mouth. You just have to watch your mouth. I thought that was like, okay, okay, everything is joyous. Like, I just, I don't know. I'm like, keep my page positive. I'm just gonna keep going because you don't want to be on the other side of drama. I pray to never be there. So that's another thing. But yeah, but the beauty, the biggest and the most beautiful thing that I discovered that it is possible to be a successful indie author and to make life happen and for readers to enjoy and love your books. And,
Yeah.
it's, and that I think has been the most rewarding experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. So with publishing your first book now, have you tweaked anything that you do going like you've done going forward from that first publishing?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot. I mean, it's all a learning process, but you kind of understand once you start getting into it, you understand a little bit more about like how to run your street teams and how what our team mistakes maybe to tweak a little bit, But like, yeah, it's pretty much a learning process along the way, and definitely the creative process is different. You take the feedback from the first book, like I said, and you make a better second book. You just keep going and keep creating and keep improving and and you may not knock it out of the park every single time, but because who knows? I get scared. Like I'm like, I say that like every single book is gonna be better than the last. So that's your ultimate goal, right? But
Yeah.
who knows, maybe somebody doesn't like my vampire. I hope not.
It'll be like, I'm gonna fight you. You like them. So, what is something about you, whether it be like a quirky thing or like an interesting thing that like is you that we don't maybe know about?
Oh my God. I mean, everyone knows I love wine and only on the weekends. Or book club night. But like, let's see. I don't know, like I've done a lot of fun things in my life. Like I think another reason why I didn't start sooner was because I was so like into other things. I've ran
Mm-hmm.
like 6 half marathons, 1 full marathon. Like I
Wow.
yeah, I've done like really like why do you but anyway. And it took a lot of time to like train for those things. Quirky. I don't know. I don't know. I just like, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, and we're in California, so of course, like I enjoy like wine tasting and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
that's it. I don't know.
Well, it's book club and wine tasting. See, I'm the person I suck at running, so I'm the person that's like standing outside with the wine glass, seeing the person running, saying, "Why are you running?"
Oh, because I'm done. Like I like have I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease back in 2020, and so like it's just I get very tired very easily, so it's not as easy for me to do physical activity anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but I had my heyday with it. I mean, you did it,
Well,
you
that's
got
amazing.
yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. I give you like really big props because I could not do it. I could not do it at all.
Yeah.
All right. So my last two questions. The first one is, what was one of the first books you read that made you fall in love, even when you were a kid, like fall in love with reading?
The Giver.
The Giver.
That was it. That book just blew my mind. And it still sticks with me as an adult. And as you read it as a child, it impacts you differently, especially like the themes in it.
Mm-hmm.
People as an adult, need to reread that and just understand how what is being explained in terms of and how it relates to our world today. That, everyone, I think it was that he just saw things in color, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
just saw things in color where people didn't see things in color. I
Yeah.
look at that as an awakening, and how it's so funny because I almost wish I would have told my dad to read it because he was such a spiritual person. He would have loved that fiction. I don't know why I didn't tell him to read it. Maybe in the next life. Okay. But like it's an awakening. And when you see so many people indoctrinated or gaslit by information, and you want them to see color, and you're so frustrated because they are trapped in a world of their own making,
Yeah.
and they cannot see.
They can't take the glasses off to
Yes,
see.
yes.
It reminds me of is it Pleasantville? It was that
Yeah,
movie where they start out in black and white and then slowly everything starts changing to
yeah,
color.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the world we're living in right now. So many people are choosing not to see in color, and
Yes,
it's kind of
exactly.
right. Like that's
Yeah, it's very
when,
scary. It's very scary. I'm on your side. Like I totally am like, why isn't anyone looking around? Like, or is no one seeing this? Like,
I
what's going
know,
on?
I know. I'm the
Oh,
same way. We
yeah.
get here for another hour. Like if we,
Yes.
so we'll stop.
Yeah. So my last question is, what would you want readers to take away after reading a book from you?
I want them to feel like they escaped. I want them to escape in my world. I want them, when they finish that book, to look up and I want them to be like, why am I in the real world now? Like, that's what I want. Ultimately, as a goal, as an author, like, that's what I want for readers, is just to give them that moment to disappear into the worlds that I create.
Great. Well, you know my stance on it. I totally did. I went down that path and I still love being there. So, well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you and get to know you better.
Yes.
And I'm so excited about the upcoming books you're coming out with. Like I'm going to be on board, eagle eye, looking out for them so I can read them. So it'll be
Yay.
very exciting. But just quick mention back, definitely check out on Instagram later today because I'll have all the details about getting the ebook of the giveaway that she's doing and the swag. And please like and subscribe. And if you have a book bestie that you think would love to watch this and learn more about wonderful new books that are already out and books on the horizon, please share that. And I'll see you next time as we get a look behind the book. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now.